In this video, we're going to talk about one of the most useful tools to have around the workshop, the bandsaw. A bandsaw operates by having a continuous blade that travels around the machine from a top wheel to a lower wheel. The lower wheel, as you can see, has a belt connected to it which connects to the motor. The upper wheel of the bandsaw is where you make most of your adjustments for the tension of the blade and the alignment of the blade. Many bandsaws have a blade tension indicator. On this machine, it has a clear window you can see through, telling you how tight the blade is on the wheels. Underneath the upper wheel is a tension adjuster. You can tighten this adjuster to increase the tension of the blade on the wheels. Bandsaws also have a blade guide post which you adjust up and down based upon the thickness of the material you're cutting. The rule of thumb is you want the guide post just above the material by about 1/2 inch. On the lower end of the guide post is a roller assembly. The roller assembly is very important to the operation of the machine because it helps keep the blade in alignment and cutting straight, especially in thicker material. The roller assemblies have a series of adjustable bearings that you must adjust correctly. Manufacturers suggest a clearance between the bearings and blades so that the machine operates at optimal performance. If this clearance is not correct, it can mean excessive wear on the blade, excessive wear on the bearings, or incorrect cutting. In addition to the two bearings on the side of the blade, there is also a bearing that is behind the blade. This bearing also must have a clearance and provide support for the blade once pressure is applied to it. All these bearings fit into an adjustable housing. This housing can be slid forwards and backwards depending on the thickness of the blade you use. Bandsaw blades can vary anywhere between 1/8 of an inch and 1 inch. Most all bandsaws come with an adjustable fence. This comes in very handy when resawing or just simply cutting boards in a straight line. The fence slides along a guide post which has a measured scale on it. Also, it has a magnified lens which helps you read the measurement better. The measurement tells you how far the fence is from the blade. Bandsaws have many functions, but one of the most useful functions is resaw capabilities. Resawing is when you take a larger piece of wood and you rip it down into thinner pieces that more suits your need. For example, if you're doing a project that requires you to have 1/8 inch wide pieces and all you have is 3 inch wide pieces, you can use the bandsaw to create these 1/8 inch wide rips, as seen here. The main thing you want to remember when resawing is to take your time. Do not get in a hurry and push the material too quickly. This can cause the blade to malfunction and cut crooked. As you can see here, we've just created an 1/8 inch wide strip of wood that's roughly 6 inches tall. You cannot do this on any other machine other than the bandsaw. Another main purpose of the bandsaw is for contour cutting. Contour cutting is when you cut lines other than straight lines, varying in different radiuses and curves. Depending on the blade you're using dictates how tight of a radius you can cut. For example, if you're using an 1/8 inch wide blade, you can cut a very tight radius. If you use a 3/4 inch blade, you're not going to be able to cut a tight radius at all. When cutting contours, you want to make sure you take your time. Another rule of thumb is you typically do not want to cut directly on your line. This gives you the freedom to sand down your material later on to your line, giving you a much cleaner cut. When you're cutting tight radiuses and your blade will not make the cut, you can make several passes at it as seen here to make sure that you create an opening for the blade to get in. You do not want to put too much tension on the blade because this can cause the blade to bend or even break. Another method for cutting an overly tight radius is just to cut all the undue scrap off and then make several passes at it, cutting a little bit at a time until you achieve the radius you want. Now the material can be taken to a sander and sand down to the line to create clean surfaces. Bandsaws can also be ran free-handed, as seen here. The possibilities of bandsaw uses are only limited to your imagination. Thank you for watching.